unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer and Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on 105.3 FM 107. Oh, I got that one wrong. See, that's what happens when we learn new numbers. 105.3 FM New Orleans. Okay,
all right. Not bad.
Not bad. You got me a little confused there with the new numbers. Yeah, we got new numbers. So, good evening, guys. This is where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with Sean Kelly, Jason, I, and Petro. How's it going, guys?
Happening? Happy Thursday.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
So, I have to say I'm a little disappointed that I had to go to work on Monday because the aliens didn't destroy the
I knew that was.
Well, there's still some strange things that are happening. There's still some strange things that are
Sean,
happening.
you know what's up, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go to work too.
Yeah.
Well, we had that big internet outrage today all across the country, major businesses, and there was some really big UFO sightings. So I don't know, guys. Right. I think it still could happen.
Is it possible? That big outage was caused by hackers?
Well, yeah,
just asking.
Definitely. It could be caused by hackers, but it could also.
There's been all that stuff with the Russian hackers lately in the United States.
Yes.
Yes, and it could be.
Just give them some good vodka.
No, well, guys, it could be something on the moon. You never know.
That's what I heard. I was reading up on that. That's pretty crazy, man.
It could be something on the moon.
Yes.
And nobody better than can tell us about the moon and some unusual things going on is Constant Victoria Briggs. She's an author and a researcher of cosmic, metaphysical, spiritual topics, specializing in space and moon mysteries. And you know why I like the moon?
Why do you like the moon?
I was born on a full moon.
Like a pizza.
Oh, there you go. And vampires too. Vampires.
Yeah, I was born on a full moon.
Isn't there a full moon tomorrow?
Yeah, coming up the 24th, I believe, Saturday. So I usually have some strange occurrences on myself that happens on the full moon. And you guys know that from the past. I can go from highs to lows in a matter of a few seconds. So
real quick.
So does any of you either have like just all kinds of bad luck whenever there's a full moon, just like stuff doesn't work or just irritating?
Yes, definitely. We're gonna find out more from Constance, and I want to say also she is the author of the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries, the Encyclopedia of Unseen World, which you guys are familiar with, and the Encyclopedia of Angels and the Encyclopedia of God. And if I missed any other ones, I do apologize, Constance. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy. Oh my God, I'm having some serious problems. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy, Constance.
Thank you.
Hey, Constance.
Hey,
welcome aboard.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, definitely.
Very well.
Yes.
Sorry about that intro. Like I said, it is coming up on the full moon, and seriously, I know you would know more about that. I've had some crazy things. My mood swings on the full moon, and you know how the moon is. It regulates a woman's cycle. It regulates the tides. So tell us about how did you get into this moon, mysteries? How did you get into this topic?
Yeah, so, I was surprised. This was a surprise topic that appeared in my life. I had been studying, things like angels and life after death and, near-death experiences and those sort of things. But I've always had a love and a passion for the idea and the feeling and an inner knowing that we're not alone in the universe. Mm-hmm. So, I sort of veered off from my spiritual studies, and I was, as I was doing my research, I came across some interesting stories about the moon. And I had no clue a few years ago when I started this research that there were so many weird things going on with it. So as these stories, came across my desk, I even had a story. I had a story of angels in the cosmos and strange lights on the moon. I just, like I do so much of my research, I started throwing them into a pile. But it was when I came across a book titled Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon by Don Wilson. I think that, and this was written in the 70s, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but I think that opened my eyes to the fact that, the moon doesn't just have a few odd things about it going on. There is a whole lot of weird anomalies with our moon. And the more that I read Don's work and then a few other people and some of NASA's material from I believe the astronauts went up. I know a lot of people don't, but I believe they did. And when I went through this material, I just started compiling these stories. Just one thing led to the other. Of course, we all, like many people, I love the moon. I love looking up at the moon. I had enjoyed reading tales about the moon, but this was a whole other thing because, what I've come across seems to me that, there's something going on up there and it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
What do you think it is?
Honestly, that's a good starting question. Okay, so I've studied, we'll get into it, strange movements, strange lights. I think something's up there. What it is, I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly, I think that there's someone on the moon, but I don't know who it is. I don't know what it is, but I really do think that there's someone up there. Yeah.
Sean,
remember a few months back a show we had where we talked about like the man on the moon, and there was those images that popped up that looked like, that there was previous civilization there that created like almost like statues out of the rocks. You remember that, Jenny and Sean?
Yeah.
That was
on Mars.
Mike Barra.
Was that Mars?
Yeah, it was Mars. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was Mars or the moon.
He talked about the moon too. Having he wrote a couple of books on the moon about the space stations. Constance, do you know Mike at all, Barra? Did you hear any of his work?
Oh yeah. We're published, by the same publisher. He's got some amazing, stuff out there. And one of the reasons I wrote the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries as opposed to a narrative is because there's just a large collection of books on the moon. And each author seems to have his own kind of, specialty, where Mike's was, a lot of it centered around those amazing structures that he found in his pictures. So yeah, I'm familiar with him. But I wrote the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries hoping that people would start to open their eyes a little bit and not feel like they have to read, the 10 and 12 and 20 or whatever books on the moon to get the information. I wanted them to take these stories, and some of them reference Mike, in fact, and take it as a jump start to your own research. If you want to learn about, more of those structures, there's a lot of ruins and structures, as you know, from your past show that have been found up there. Maybe to kind of take those little pieces and go off and maybe get Mike's book, or maybe get Richard Haugland's original works on it. My research has gone even a little bit further than the structures. I've gone into, and the lights, but I've gone into more of the histories. I've tried to get into the stuff from the ancient past, as far as the philosophers, and where the moon came from. I'm working on a new book, in fact, trying to connect what I call the ET connection with planet Earth, and, wonder if some of our own history, for mankind even may have touched and started with the moon, because there are some stories dating back into the ancient past of us having a connection to the moon as well.
Constant, what do you, I was looking through your book and you mentioned that there are satellites, extraterrestrial satellites on the moon. Could you explain that a little bit?
Did I use the word satellites? Or
Yeah, you said,
mean?
well, I'm sorry. It's the home for the extraterrestrials and a natural satellite. What do you mean by a natural satellite?
Okay. So what I said is that the moon is not a natural satellite according to some people's theories. And there are stories. There's a story that goes back to the ancient past. So this is my favorite theory. First of all, we do not know specifically, definitively where the moon came from. We don't know. There's been a lot of theories out there. We've got the capture theory, the fission theory, the big whack theory of how different ideas of how the moon got started. But the scientists don't really know where it came from. And so one of the things that I wrote about was these various ideas. And my favorite one was the idea that the moon is not a natural satellite. This story originally came to people's knowledge in the 1970s when two Russian scientists came forward after looking at NASA's data that the Apollo astronauts brought back, and they came up with their conclusion that the moon is not natural, that it did not have. Yeah, have you heard that, Sean? I see you looking. Yeah.
I just read something up on that, that they sent, I forget, from 1969 to 1972, there were a lot of astronauts that went up there. And first of all, they couldn't find no other civilization that was up there. And they also come to the thing where they were just, I don't know, to me it was like a government conspiracy where they had to keep their mouth shut, you know what I mean? And they really didn't get into detail. But what fascinated me the most as I was doing my research was they're claiming that the moon was actually made from molten lava. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I have not heard the molten lava theory.
Yeah,
I know I've heard that it's got, maybe some, but I mean, it hasn't. No, I don't know much about the molten lava theory. But I will tell you what the Soviets found from looking at the data. They said that the elements that the moon are made from are so strong and so hard that it appeared when they tried to dig into it, they couldn't. And it appeared that it was designed to be able to withstand radiation and fire and meteorite bombardment, that if ever the moon was a spaceship was going to be created, that these would be the materials, these hard materials that it would be made from. And on top of that, they looked at the fact that when meteorites, that the craters are not very deep. They're all kind of shallow. No matter how wide or how small they are, they're all approximately the same size, of course, which shouldn't be. If you've got a heavier meteorite than the other one, it should be making a harder, deeper dent. It doesn't do that. They looked at the fact that, the astronauts had crashed at the ascent stage, for example, into the moon. And we've all heard the terminology where they said the moon rang like a bell. Or, well, they didn't really mean that. People take that literally. It didn't sound like a bell ringing. It reverberated. And so the scientists said that shouldn't have happened. And I have found in my talking about this that people kind of, they kind of laugh at that and say, oh, the moon rang like a bell, it reverberated, ha ha. Those people saying that are crazy. But, it came from NASA. It came from NASA scientists at the time. They did it more than once. The first time it happened, they said this shouldn't have happened. They were astounded. They were flabbergasted. It should not reverberating for, an hour. And then the next time, even a longer period. So these Soviets said this thing looks like it's hollowed out, just like NASA. Some of the NASA people had said it seems like it's hollowed out. Their theory is the spaceship moon theory. They said it appears that this thing was created, and if it's hollow It's maybe have engines in it, and it may have had extraterrestrials in there that got into this thing, and it was sent across the universe and placed in the vicinity of Earth. It is the most craziest idea you could even begin to imagine. But then they were saying it's the only thing that fits all of these moon mysteries going on up there. So they believed it, and they published this article in Sputnik magazine, and it took off. And people looked at their data and they compared it to what they were saying to NASA's data, and they said, yeah, maybe that could be. So they said there could be now, or maybe there have been in the future and they're not there now, something that brought this thing into Earth's vicinity. Now, on top of that, we have, and I'm going to try to keep my train of thought and not lose this. We have a story that came out of Africa, in ancient times, an ancient story of their creation moon story. The Zulu people of Africa said the moon was created by two brothers who took a planetoid, and they called the moon an egg. They used that analogy in their story, and they said it was an egg that had its yolk removed, and these two brothers sent this egg across the universe, and that's how the moon became where it is. And for me, I found that incredibly interesting, considering what the Soviets had already said. Now, this is something else that I found in connection to it and amazing. We have writings from ancient philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, and others, and also some cultural traditions that said there was a time in Earth's history where there couldn't have been a moon in the sky. Was not a moon in the sky, which for me, when I found that story, I was really surprised. I mean, I was taught that Earth couldn't survive without a moon. There's at least one scientist that said, oh, no, that's not true. Earth can survive. Life can survive. It wouldn't be like now. There would be, upheaval and some chaos, but it doesn't mean life couldn't be here, and it doesn't mean the moon would have been rolling around. And they said, look at Mars. Mars isn't rolling around, and Mars has, two very small moons. And so the theory is that these, if there were beings that brought this thing across the universe and parked it here, that they may have put it here to stabilize the Earth and to, cause life on Earth to progress. And there was one other thing. There's an ancient writing in Bolivia. We call it the Sun Gate of Tiahuanaco. And on this gate, on these ruins, it says that the moon was brought into Earth's vicinity and about 12,000 years ago. And when this thing came in, it caused chaos on Earth. It caused, volcanic earthquakes and storms. And, that coincides with a number of other storms that are known in history, of mankind. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Jason, you're quiet. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually had a couple. So I was reading up on something that a lot of people believe that the moon was created about 4.5 billion years ago when an asteroid the size of Mars hit Earth during its forming, and then it blew off a piece of the Earth and created the moon. I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on that, and also with the talking about how the moon was reverberating. Scientists say, that the moon has what they call moonquakes, similar to earthquakes that can last up to hours due to the gravitational pull from the planet Earth. So I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on those.
So you're referring to the giant impact theory. And some people refer to it as the Big Whack theory, that this planet smacked into Earth and caused part of the Earth to spill out into the universe and form this sphere that became our moon. But the problem with that theory is that the science doesn't match up. If that were the case, there would be more of the Earth elements and the moon elements lining up, and they don't. So they've really discounted that. And I'm very, very frustrated when I hear the students in school being taught that that's how the moon was created, when it's not true. And people haven't, they're not up on the current science. And if you go to the NASA website, it says pretty much that, that's a theory. That is not a fact. So the rocks don't line up, the material that they brought back, the dust and everything, the numbers are not the same. And they know that the moon is kind of strange. I do talk about it, in more detail in the book. And the book really is, I call it mysteries, because we don't have any proof of, what the answer, we don't have any answers. So I always call mysteries, they're still asking, what is it? What is it? As Isaac Asimov said, what is the moon? What was your second question?
You were talking about how the moon was reverberating, and they say that the moon has what they call moonquakes, similar to earthquakes, due to the gravitational pull from Earth. I want to see what your thoughts were on that. Would that explain the reverberation that they were picking up from it?
So the reverberation, specifically, my understanding, and I'm not a scientist again, but it was because they smacked this thing into it like it was the equivalent of of a bomb, a TNT bomb hitting it, and it reverberated because it was smacked so hard, and it wasn't dense enough. It's not dense enough in there for it to not shake. There are moonquakes, and it's my understanding from the research that they can't explain those moonquakes, and they're trying to figure them out. They're saying that these quakes come from deep within, and they're not sure what's causing them. And they, there is a theory that there is something in there that may be some kind of machinery that may be actually causing these things. I list, the different ones in the book, but they have no answers. They're still trying to figure out why there are such things as moonquakes. But the moonquakes were separate from them smacking the moon with something. Interestingly, as far out as it sounds that there may be someone living in there, someone has said, the moon is, they use the analogy of the moon being inside out, that everything that's on top of the moon should be inside. They think that there may be people, ETs living in there that, at least my theory, that there could be in there and went in there to escape the moon elements. And yeah, they could have that machinery in there causing moonquakes.
Yeah, especially since you say it sounds hollow, they think it's hollow. That would make sense. What if there is something inside there and it's just that outer protective shell, that we can't get through?
Yeah,
good.
That was good.
Yeah, the other thing is they're talking about starting a colony on the moon, as you know, it's all over the news. Yeah. And one of the things they're talking about doing is putting people in what they're calling, lava tubes and crevices in the moon. And so that should tell people something. They're obviously finding large areas somehow in the moon that are unoccupied, and they're like, oh, we could take that, and that would protect any colony from the coldness of the surface and then the heat of the surface. So they know, and also they have seen, the astronauts saw these openings inside of the moon, and also there was a report that the craters are bottomless. Now I don't know how they could tell. I don't know what kind of cameras they took, but that was one report from the astronauts that some of those craters, they just look bottomless. So there are holes going into the moon.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Apollo 13, about what they saw. And is there anything else that they saw?
Apollo 13, each of the Apollo missions on the way to the moon, I just want to say,
okay, I just want to make sure we have. Yeah, you spoke about Apollo 10 and 13 in your book.
Right. Yeah. So I just want to say before I forget that each of the Apollo missions on the way did see UFOs or strange lights on their way to the moon. Every mission. Apollo 10, I think, had one of the most interesting stories for me, and they all had interesting stories. But so Apollo 10 was a kind of a rehearsal run for Apollo 11, where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, stepped foot on the moon. That whole big historical mission. Apollo 10 was the forerunner, and on their way, the two astronauts. In the lunar module, they had to leave the command module and go down as a trial run, and they got as close to the moon as they could. On their way, they had a technical problem. Something went wrong with their equipment inside. They couldn't get this lock to move. They got stuck in space, and they were trying to talk to ground control and get some advice. How can we move? We're in trouble. They're talking to the command module. We don't know what to do. We're in trouble. They're trying every avenue that they could, and they didn't know what to do. They see this thing outside of the little capsule window go by. It was a UFO. And not very long after that thing went by, the equipment started to work again. So once they were able to contact ground control and say, it's working fine now, everything's fine. We saw something, we don't know what it was, but everything's fine now. Ground control said continue with the mission. When they got back, the story is that they were told not to talk about it. And but the feeling was that whatever this was that passed by, actually helped them to return, to continue their mission, and to return to the command module.
Wow.
What's the what do we think about, we're talking about there's potentially, maybe there's ETs living inside the moon and residing and have a whole colony. What if, what do you think about if this is true? And the only reason we're seeing them is because they're like kind of monitoring what we're doing, seeing what we're doing with the planet, because maybe they have future plans for it or something like that. Is that any possibility?
So, interestingly enough, that's something that I'm going to elaborate on. I've got a new moon book coming out. It is not an encyclopedia; it's narrative, and I talk about. I'll be talking about the hypotheticals, and one of them is, first of all, there could be these extraterrestrials living inside of the moon. Then they could have some connection to us by way of, they did come across the universe, perhaps park themselves here, either to help humankind on planet Earth, or maybe they were escaping some kind of sun explosion or some disaster on their own home and came across, and they're there for that reason. Or if they came across to escape, some of them may be living there, and some of them, who knows, may have come into Earth for whatever reason, in whatever form they are. I mean, when we look at UFOs, the UFOs go back to ancient times, of reports. When you look at ancient art, even, coming forward, even medieval art, you see, UFOs. Did this thing, come in here, and I mean spaceship or the moon, come in here bringing people some kind of beings, and they're still there, and some of them are here? And are they there to watch us? Because maybe they have that connection. Maybe they let some kind of beings come in here and they're watching. Or they're watching because they brought it in here to help us in their monitoring our progress. It certainly appears that we are being monitored, because I'm telling you, every one of those missions that went up, 12 men walked on the moon, every one of them saw something on the way. And then one of the missions, and excuse me, but there's several of them, and I get the numbers mixed up when I'm talking like this on the air, and I don't want to keep referring to the book. But one of them, I don't know if it was Apollo 17, but they had 2 astronauts following them from takeoff. From takeoff, there were 2 right here, close, and followed them up. So to answer your question, I do believe there could be beings there monitoring us for our progress, and maybe they had something to do with, the whole creation thing. There is a story. I mean, I don't know if your audience are familiar with the whole Anunnaki story and the Sumerians. It's quite a popular theory of, of how mankind came to be. And then there are people who think that the moon has some connection to them. There's a story that Adam, who was named Adapa, Adapa, in the Sumerian writings, was talking about the moon a lot. And there is a thought that he may have actually been created on the moon. He may have been the first man on the moon, when we're the first man of humankind may have been created on the moon. This is a story that is out there, kind of fits that Sumerian story. And they said he prophesied the moon. He was a prophet of the moon. Could our whole creation and the Anunnaki have started there? Could that be where they created people to bring down? These Anunnaki were extraterrestrials. They were gods to us, and they were said to have created mankind from DNA of I don't know, apes on Earth, or some of the Neanderthal. I don't even know the correct name. I apologize, but the beings that they found here walking the Earth that were similar to man. They were not Homo sapiens, sapiens, but they used them and combined their DNA and created humankind and made these helpers. The story is that they may have started on the moon and sent them in here. Could they be still there, and could they be watching us right now?
Well,
That's amazing.
That's intense. That's intense there. Whoa. Threw everything out the door, what I learned growing up.
Right?
Damn.
So how come we didn't have the end of the world on Sunday from aliens like we were supposed to?
You have good question, Jason.
And there's another question. Are these little, and I shouldn't say little, I keep referring to them as little because of the name. They calling them Tic Tacs.
Yes.
Is it the Tic Tac?
Yes.
I don't know where that name
Orange
came
is my
from.
favorite.
But could they have anything to do with the moon? There's another theory that the moon could possibly be some sort of way station. I mean, it doesn't even get rid of everything I've told you. It doesn't mean that none of the other stuff happened. It means that in the process of all of this, there are other beings that may have discovered the moon and are stopping through there, or stopping by there. If you look at the stories of the contactees, some people believe that contactees are for real and some don't. But if you take them seriously, there are a few that have said they've met extraterrestrials, they've traveled in ships, and they've traveled to the moon. One of them said they saw ships coming in, and there was bartering going on from elements from the moon. They were switching out supplies with other extraterrestrials. Could the UFOs that we are seeing here have any connection? Are they coming from there? Are the Tic Tacs coming from there? Are the boomerangs and the cylinder-shaped UFOs coming from there? It kind of makes sense because the moon is so close.
Right.
It's a way station.
And not only that, but we've been, but we've only looked at less than 1% of the moon. It's huge. Back and front, are equally as large as North America and all the places on the side. We haven't seen everything up there. And as one host said, interestingly enough, they said, we could go up, they could just turn off the lights. We haven't explored it in great detail. We landed, a few times, and we stayed in that area. I mean, all of us have traveled somewhere else in the United States, right?
Right.
But we haven't seen it all. We
No,
haven't
most
seen
definitely.
Good point. Good
So
point.
they say
Good
we only
point.
see the same side of the moon all the time too, so that leaves the total dark side.
Right.
That's never been explored because we're only seeing the one side of it. So who knows? There could be something on that side that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
I hear they want to
entrances
put it.
or-
I hear they want to put some kind of like, not a telescope, but some kind of antenna over there on the dark side to see what they can pick up on
Mm-hmm.
what's
some
over
Pink
there.
Floyd.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, I've heard about that antenna. I'm waiting.
You know,
I'm waiting.
if a child asks you, like you have a child, and they said, what makes the moon glow at night? What would you say?
The sun?
The sun?
Yeah.
I'd say the sun.
The sun. Yes.
Because it's like when you look at that big ball and it glows like it's like a star.
Yeah,
And I
it's
always-
beautiful to
Yeah.
look at. It really
Wow, the
is
full moon's
amazing.
starting early on Jenny.
Seriously? Yeah, it has started. It's
Well,
you know.
if you believe in crystals and stones like that, a lot of people who do crystals, they put all their crystals out on the full moon.
Yeah, I
It
did
actually
that too.
It actually charges their stones up.
Yeah, some big ones over there. I should get them.
Yeah, got them too. You know, there are some other blowing going on the moon up there. Some of the craters, have been,
Right.
they've been. So there's a whole. I don't know if you're aware of this. There's a whole thing about lights on the moon. It's called transient lunar phenomena. And what I find the most interesting about this is how we, besides them being there, is how we discover them. First of all, transient lunar phenomena, also called lunar transient phenomena. You can look it up. It's strange. Oh, look at that!
Nice.
Wow.
Whoa! Holy
Wow.
crap, girl!
That's
Yeah.
Damn! No wonder you got aliens coming to your house, honey.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Holy crap!
Oh, I've got one of those. Mine
Oh,
glows.
jeez.
Mine
Yeah,
glows.
Oh,
Oh man!
I got coffee.
I got my crappy iced tea here.
So they have seen lights moving across the surface of the moon since the age of the telescope that it was first created. They've seen lights moving. They've seen things that look like something that looks like shadows, fog, lights in all different colors, shapes and sizes. Sometimes they'll see one sphere that lasts for a few hours. Sometimes there's 5. And they don't know what they are. Okay? They can't explain them. And this has been going on for many years. So NASA created 3 different catalogs trying to keep track of these things. And the most popular one came out just before the moon missions. And the theory is that they were watching them because they were sending people up and they wanted to know, what the heck is that? We should be monitoring them and looking at them. So you can get this book. I hear that they have some regret of putting that out. But so, yeah, I believe that these lights, of course, are created by some sort of beings up there. Maybe they're just going about their business, going about their day,
But here's what I'm thinking. They're starting, we're talking about starting a colony up there, okay, on the moon. So if there are extraterrestrials or Tic Tacs that live up there, I mean, they probably have it all worked out to where us and the Tic Tacs, I guess you want to call them, can live together as one. Doesn't that not sound like it? Or, you know what I mean? Like, converge together. And maybe that's what's happening out in Roswell. They're probably doing some business there with the ETs out in Roswell, and to make life a little bit more simpler when we have a colonization on the moon.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I'm also sure they're going to be. I mean, if you're talking about the underground Area 51, or are you talking about those Dolce.
Dolce.
There's so many
Dolce.
different pronunciations of that, so we're not even going to go there.
Dolce. But that's that thought just come up, as we were talking earlier about how you thinking that there's a theory of ETs being on there, and we're starting colonies. Maybe they already got something in the program working right now. We can go from there.
Well,
Maybe
Sean,
they
what do you
know-
think about
know
what if they're starting to make their appearance more known because we're getting close to that? They actually don't want that to happen. Maybe they're trying to scare us and
That's
cause
possible.
hysteria here. Because then people will be like, well, what if they are coming from the moon or whatever? I don't want to go up there. If they're coming out here already,
I don't want to
checking
go up
everything
there.
out. Who knows what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Victoria, would you like to go to the moon?
Yeah, so I've been asked this question before. So this is the thing. I said no unless they have a Starbucks.
Me
Yes.
too. That's definitely a Starbucks.
I mean, I like having things to do. I like being busy. I like research. I like writing. And I don't want to be just stuck there, just to see a bunch of stuff. I want to be. If right now, if they had a colony, I would mind going for a visit. Okay, I don't want a one-way trip to live in a colony on the moon or Mars. I really like it here.
Would you take a ride up in outer space in one of Amazon's spaceships?
Jeff Bezos.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
There's a lot more to Prime.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. But I kind of have a different look at life in the world, I mean, I'm a person that has experienced astral projection, leaving the body and floating up and out. And I really think that you can accomplish a lot of things without spending that kind of money for 10 minutes to go up. I also believe, getting off topic, in life after death. I've had experiences, and I was saying on Facebook to someone, from me studying near-death experiences, people have said that they've left their body and gone up and above the earth. Okay, they didn't all go through tunnels. So I believe that we have something big waiting for us. Once we leave here, we are not simply humans pinned to earth. We are extraterrestrials in this form, I believe, and we will continue on, and we will be seeing things. So no, I don't need to spend my last few dollars before retirement to get on that rocket, unless they're going to send me for free. Yes.
Yeah.
So with the way that the moon controls like tides and everything, I was reading up that the moon is actually moving like 3.5 centimeters away from Earth every year. So obviously we'll never see this, but what do we think kind of catastrophic stuff is going to happen, say hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years? That might be the end of the Earth if the moon drifts far enough away. Does anybody, try to, we look back in the past at like dinosaurs 65 million years ago, this and that, figuring all that out. Is anybody trying to figure out like, well, if the moon's moving, what's going to happen in millions of years from now? And try and come up with, something.
Another spark some kind of ice age or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not a
that'd be
scientist.
the end of the Earth altogether.
It would be, but let's think about this for a second. I mean, we are expanding our technology, pretty quickly compared to, where we were just even a couple of 100 years ago. Some people theorize that we have received technology from extraterrestrials, that we jumped ahead way too quickly. So by that time, if we don't blow ourselves up first, could we create something, some kind of false moon of our own? If that moon keeps moving further out.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'd be different.
To where we don't need the moon, correct?
That's right.
I figure with all the like high tides and stuff, everything would just be out of control without the original, but, trying to figure out like, would people be able to create something to take place of something so massive, for the Earth, that's something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know, but you said hundreds of millions of years, didn't you?
Yeah. Hundreds of thousands, millions of years, I don't think the Earth's going to be here, honestly.
What happens if the moon just blows up? We will die. Do you believe that, Constance? If it did,
I believe that if you look at the ancient writings, there was some life here. There was a people here, and they call them the Arcadians, and they call them the people that lived before the moon. And there are tales of these people that lived. And like I said, at least one scientist, and I've got to do some more research and talk to some more people, said that Mars isn't rolling around. We don't know that there's life up there, but the idea is that the moon would not be stabilized and that Earth life couldn't survive here. I don't think it would be like we know it today if we had no moon. I think we would, a lot of the life would die, but would all of it die? Would anyone survive? And could people go inside by that time too? That's another thing. Could people go inside, just like there may be people, possibly living in the moon, ETs. So I don't know. One thought is that what happens if there were ETs in the moon and they have to take the capability of just leaving? If they came in, could they just leave? And somebody was, who was it? Was just kind of joking around and said, maybe the government made a deal with the extraterrestrials on the moon because maybe they know that they could leave anytime. Maybe that's why they didn't go back to the moon.
Yeah,
they didn't want
tax money.
And they said, we'll leave if you keep coming.
Remember when they bombed the moon? What if there was actual living organisms there that were intelligent and they bombed the moon? If that was the case, if you were on the moon, if you were one of these moon, I don't know what you want to call them. What would you call, not earthlings, moonlings? I don't know. If there was really some kind of intelligent life on the moon and somebody bombed you, wouldn't you bomb back?
Would you? Would we?
I would think so. If someone bombed us, we would bomb back.
Yeah, but would they have the technology for bombs?
Well,
right.
I would imagine if they're on the moon and they have all these moon bases, they have to have a little bit of technology. Don't you agree, Constance?
Well, but maybe because they do watch us, it looks like, maybe they knew that we were just running a test. Maybe they understood that what we're doing. It doesn't mean that they took it as an act of war. Maybe they just thought we were crazy. And maybe that's one reason, maybe that's one reason. Right. They're watching us and coming. There are UFO reports all over.
Especially, there was one big one today, and I know Jason was making light of it. What there was. It was the same time that they were, when all the different internet went out, like all the outrage went out all over the country, all the big companies, but at the same time, there was a big UFO report.
I
know Jason doesn't think so.
No, I have to look it up. I spend my days deep in research, and sometimes I don't come up for air, and my system didn't go down, and I wasn't listening to the news, so I'll have to catch it.
Yeah, mine went down for a little bit. I was streaming some things, and it went off for a little bit, but then they brought it back. It was all over the news. If you Google it, you'll find one after the other companies that had some issues.
Yeah, but is it because everything's switching to 5G and this expanded network crap?
Yes, that's possible. That's possible.
Switching literally like right now.
If anybody out there knows of anything that might be causing this, please comment in the comments. We'd love to know what your thoughts are on it. Right, Jason?
Yeah. All I know is I was disappointed I had to go to work on Monday.
Yeah, me too. And trust me,
I was looking forward to Sunday.
Dude,
it was
listen,
I just had someone just comment. They said it was a DNS outrage. Now, what is that? Because I don't know what a DNS is. It had nothing to do with 5G, he just said. Apparently, this person's way up there in the, he's in the cybersecurity, so he just...
Is that Mike Barra?
No, Mike Barra is not in cyber. He's an astrophysicist. I think he's like he did rocket stuff, but don't quote me on that. I don't want to get a nasty email from him. No. If there's any rocket scientists out there, might have to give us a little, I'm not making light of it. I do believe that there are things. I'm seriously disappointed too that there wasn't anything that happened on the July. I don't know, Constant, if you knew of all the big in the UFO community, that July 18th, apparently an abductee said that he was abducted, and he was told that they were coming back in July, and one of the dates was July 18th, and they were going to make themselves known to the human race. So that's what we're talking about. That.
Okay.
You know, they always say the third time's a charm, so we had the rapture, which didn't happen.
Well, the rapture is not for sure.
Happen.
So
it's going to be maybe the third, whatever will happen.
But you know, there's an awful lot of sightings, way more. Even there always have been, but there's more than there has ever been, and I think something big is coming.
Me too.
I am constantly amazed when I talk to people, and they just kind of give me this blank look. You know, I talked about the UFOs. I talked about the moon, the weird stuff, crop circles, and they're just like, "Huh? You don't have much to say about it." It's really weird, but I do think something big is coming, and I think
having the same feeling.
Shock. Yeah.
Something.
Do we have a date? Do we have a date for that one?
No, because it can't go on the way it is. The world is going. It can't go on. So something has to. And if there is some kind of intelligent life, and if there is some, like you said, could be an ancient civilization that started Earth. Maybe they're watching and they're saying, "Wow, something you guys, what you did to our Earth. Maybe we are descendants of some kind of ET." That's my philosophy on that. Constance, you agree with me? I mean,
I do, and there are reports that extraterrestrials have visited, the governments in the past and tried to tell them, look, we're not going to let you, blow yourselves up.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you destroy all the life on this earth. Forget it. We don't have, of course, any proof that happened, but that, in the 1950s, there was a huge surge of UFOs that came in, and that would have been around the same time that they reportedly met with some of the governments and said, you can't use that, atomic bomb.
Okay, we're going to have to, I do apologize for interrupting. We're going to have to leave it at that. We just got the cue that we're out of time. So
thank you, Constance. Thank you.
Learn more.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Post on our Facebook page where they can reach you. But thank you again for tuning into Chasing Prophecy. Next week, we're going to talk about skinwalkers. So make sure you tune in. And thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, it's time to vote, vote, vote. Get out there and nominate your favorite podcasts. The People's Choice Podcast Awards voting is up on the 31st of July, so go to podcastawards.com to nominate the following shows. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in the categories of education and also storyteller drama. The Centralist in the category of politics and news. That's with show host Joe Montaldo. Science and Beyond in the category of science and medicine, also with show host Joe Montaldo. The Outer Realm in the category of society culture, with show hosts Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. And the Pittsburgh Paranormal Chasing Prophecy in the category of religion and spirituality. There's another category that opened up for us recently, the People's Choice, so please select for this category as well. Go to podcastawards.com to vote for these 5 shows and any others you enjoy listening to. That's podcastawards.com. And remember, voting ends July 31st, so go ahead and get your votes in.